Hello, my name is Mike Parker, and I'm the Tree Fruit Extension Specialist at North Carolina State University. Today we're looking at some pecan trees. When we start talking about pecan trees and pruning, it is very crucial in North Carolina that we prune our trees properly. In North Carolina, we have a high probability for tropical storms and hurricanes that result in serious damage to the pecan trees. So in North Carolina, we want to have a central leader tree, a strong central leader tree growing up, which our branches come off. Once we plant our pecan trees, that pruning starts from the day that we plant those trees. When we plant a young tree, we will come in many times and we will cut off approximately the top third. One of the reasons we cut off the top third is to get buds that are well spaced out. If we would look at the tip of young pecan growths, note how closely the buds are placed together. If we would allow all those when the growth begins in the spring, we would have a witch's broom, if you will, a very concentrated area of upright growth. The way that we can do that is that we cut out approximately 1/3 of the top of the tree. By removing a top third of the tree, notice that the buds are much wider spaced out, so when the growth begins in the spring of the year, we can have a wider distribution of those branches. It is also important to look at the buds of a pecan tree. At each node, there are usually at least 3 buds. The ones that stick out maybe stick out a ½ inch. That would be called the primary bud. The growth orientation of that primary bud is very upright. The only growth in the tree that would be useful for would be the central leader. The bud right beneath that would be the secondary, comes out more at a 45-degree angle, and the tertiary third bud would grow out at a flat angle. We can look on this tree beside me. The tree was cut off when it was planted. Notice the top bud that grew out. Both the primary bud and the secondary bud grew. So what we would do is we would come in and we would remove the underbranch here, allowing the upright tree to grow. The new growth here, we would come back in and cut it by 1/3, allowing the central leader to continue the upright growth. With the pecan tree, we'd also want to eliminate, again, we can see here these secondary buds, a primary bud very upright, secondary bud coming out right. At this point, we remove this because we do not want the competition with the leader of these trees. On a 2-year-old pecan tree like this, we would maintain our central leader, then we would leave remaining growth around the base as long as it was not upright growing. Realizing that in North Carolina, any growth from approximately 6 foot down will be temporary. We will leave these young branches until they're approximately 1 inch in diameter, at which point they will be removed. It is nice to have videos and publications that tell us how to prune trees. However, we have to realize that many times the circumstances we're in are not perfect. Deer browsing, storms can come in, and here's a 2-year-old tree that has some issues. Again, notice we have a multi-leader tree. We have branches that came off here. The side branch here is stronger than what would have been the leader. So in a tree like this, we want to maintain the growth, realizing that this would be the central leader. At that point in time, we'll come in and cut off all extraneous growth that is low, below our knee height for our herbicide strip. And then you notice also we have a problem here with crotch angles. So we'll come in and remove that, going back to a newly set tree. This may look brutal, however, we're looking at the long-term growth of this tree, and in 3 years from now, you'll never know the difference except you will have a well-maintained central leader tree. This is a pecan tree that's been planted for 2 years. Again, the tree was headed off at planting, so we had upright growth. We will come in now and maintain this and select the central leader, would be here, but notice that in the top 2 nodes, both the primary bud and the secondary bud broke or grew, if you will. So what we would do is we would come back in and select our central leader. This would be our upright central leader. Eliminate competition for approximately a fist width. And then we remove upright branches on the tree, leaving the ones coming out at an angle to feed the tree in the initial years. Realizing all of these branches down here will be removed when they're approximately 1 inch in diameter. The final thing we would do on a tree like this is we would go back, and since we have selected our central leader, we would cut it back by approximately 1/3 so that we get the buds spaced out to maintain the central leader growth. Again, as we had talked about earlier, not all trees grow according to plan. If we would look at this tree, a heading cut was made in this area here approximately 2 years ago. Notice the resulting growth. 2 branches or 3 branches came off from the same location. That is a very dangerous situation, very unhealthy for the tree, because with this ridge of bark here with sharp crotch angles, those are very weak. If we would look at a side branch where it has this similar type of forking, we can see a sharp crotch angle. And the problem is when the force is put on that, it results in the tree splitting and breaking. If we would have the same thing occurring here in the trunk, we would have lost the productivity of this tree and it would have to be replaced to be profitable. So we would come in, so we do not want that to happen under a tropical storm or hurricane. So we'd come in and eliminate these sharp crotch angles, maintaining the upright growth of our tree to a central leader. And we would prune this very similar to we had done the other ones. Again, having a heading cut was made here last year. We have 3 competing shoots. We will come back in at that point in time and select our single leader. Go back up here as we talked about the central leader, maintained by cutting back by about 1/3. Then as we move down this tree, again, we will leave the side branches, except these that are very upright. The one here that I showed you how it was going to break, we would remove those as well, leaving the branches in the lower portion of this tree to provide resources in the initial years. We're looking at another pecan tree that has been in the field for 3 years. Notice the heading cut was made here at year 1, another heading cut was made here, and then another heading cut was made here last year. So again, we want to maintain the upright central leader of the tree. We have some issues, we have some sharp crotch angles. So the first thing we'll do is we will maintain this as our central leader. We will get rid of competing upright shoots with the central leader. Then moving down, if they're coming out lateral, we'll leave them. And then we'll cut out some large competing branches here. So that's what we'll do with this young tree. And then the final cut we'll make is coming in with the central leader and cutting it back by approximately 1/3. One of the reasons that we head back the leaders of the young pecan trees is to get away from the witch's broom or crow's feet that result from all of the buds breaking. This is a good example of what has happened at the terminal. All of those buds have broken, resulting in growth that would be somewhat weak. Again, as the trees get older, when we get heavy crops, leaf and nut crop, they result in breakage under heavy winds. And notice when they break off, they go into the tree trunk. So when we come in, we cut the trees back to get the buds that are spaced out, getting away from the crow's foot that results. Maintaining the central leader of young trees is not a problem and can be done from the ground. However, as trees grow and age and mature, pruning them can be much more of a challenge. As behind me, we look at the tree, we have a strong central leader. However, we go up approximately 15 feet, we see we have 3 major branches that are competing for the central leader. If we do not rectify this situation, when we get heavy storms, there's a good chance the tree will split in the top. So we will come in with a pole pruner and remove 2 of those, maintaining the upright central leader. To remove the tops of pecan trees, we will be using an extendable chainsaw pruner. I believe this one extends to 11 foot 6 inches. When using chainsaw equipment, make sure that you use the proper safety equipment. As we continue to maintain the central leader tree for pecan trees in North Carolina, we can start out and we do our work from the ground for the first 4 or 5 years. Then we can use our pole pruners and pole chainsaw pruners to go up to about 12 or 15 feet. However, after that, it becomes an issue. At that point in time, we either allow the trees to become multi-branched, which are a serious problem with tropical storms and hurricanes, or we come and use a lift of some type to get us into the tree. This is an automated lift that I'm working from here. It has automatic chainsaw pruners as well as loppers that are ran off the hydraulics from the unit below. This is another issue. As we move up the tree, you can see these sharp crotch angles that we have. These are always going to be a problem. Since this is a permanent tree that will be here for many years, we will come in and eliminate these branches as well. When we remove these larger branches, we come in and we'll use 2 cuts, as you've noticed. We will come and make a cut out approximately a foot away from the tree so we can drop that branches without putting any harm in the trunk. Again, as we work our way up the tree, we'll do the same type of thing. All these are some major cuts. These cuts maybe should have been made several years ago. Realize at this point in time, we're looking for a long-term yield of these trees that will tolerate our heavy crop loads as well as the tropical storms that we experience in many times in this part of North Carolina. Again, we've came in with this permanent tree, we've developed the central leader and got rid of the competing major branches coming off from the leader to provide higher long-term yields over the life of the orchard. For more information, please look at the North Carolina Pecan Growers website or look at North Carolina State University's Cooperative Extension Service website as well. Thank you and good luck with your endeavor.